Issue 255, Reboot. We start out with Sonic on the Tornado 2, somehow still staying on its wing when the plane is slanted. So his shoes have to be magnetically attached to it, and they can deactivate the attachment when he wants. Sure was nice of Chuck to make his shoes like that. That's always stupid. And they're in the skies above Metropolis on West Side Island. They come to the very hasty conclusion that because they can't contact Bunny, she's been found out and captured when undercover. When, I think it would be kind of obvious that if they could always contact her, then they would be able to contact her at the wrong time when she's surrounded by the people she's trying to blend in with, and her cover would be blown as a spy. You'd think that her friends would have been filled in on that, protective measure. So after Sonic sarcastically says they'll politely ask for Bunny back, Tails tells T-Pup to keep the tornado out of range, and he'll call his robot dog for pickup. Because a robot dog can do that with no hands. And they're not even going to try to explain how that works. Can he remote control the plane with his mind? Also, it's a fox, but he programmed it to be a dog, to be a better pet. Chuck could have piloted that plane. The heroes run through Metropolis Zone, planning to find the command center. Fleetway had Metropolis Zone too, but I like it a lot better there. It made sense that the dangerous final level of Sonic 2 was Eggman's main base that he was usually seen in, after he ditched the Special Zone base for no reason. Well, here, I'm going back to this review to read the script after a long time, and I completely forgot that it was Metropolis Zone they were going through. I actually remembered it was Chemical Plant Zone instead. So I'm guessing the reason for that is that it's not going to matter which zone it was named after, because it's not going to really be like that zone. So the name is just there for a game reference. The game reference is just hollow, meaningless nostalgia if it's not going to have the level be like the level. At that point, well, the same can be applied to Metropolis and Fleetway too, but in Metropolis and Fleetway, it was an actual city with people living in it that you saw all the time. This isn't a city. This is a mook place. They find some grunts and a button is pressed to lock them in a room. I'm glad we didn't waste too much time with them dodging traps in Metropolis. So, at least they had traps to try to reference Sonic 2. I mean, SCC didn't do that, but again, you think Metropolis, you think city. I love that Sonic is actually written to say that he doesn't like walloping Eggman's grunts because he gets that they're in a tough spot. He should have said that to one of the Legionnaires in Archie Sonic to at least acknowledge the moral problems with so-called heroes beating up not-so-bad guys as Eggman's grunts, instead of beating up pure evil robots like you should be. Here, he's fighting organic beings. Sonic jokes that the big grunt takes Eggman's takeout orders, and Bunny knocks him out, and lies into a microphone that the grunts are better off not opening the door to the room where Sonic's in. It makes an excuse that they should get armed and in position first. And it makes sense that she's going by the nickname of Scarlet, because that's what was originally planned to be Bunny's real name in Archie Sonic. And it also makes sense that she's undercover in the Egg Army at first in the reboot, because Flynn was obviously planning to have her join the Dark Legion to get cybernetics in Archie Sonic, and this is probably what he actually wanted to write with her before the reboot. So this is trying to resolve that plot thread the way he wanted by showing us what he intended with her, but if it can be resolved in just one story, then it makes me wish it was resolved in Archie Sonic even more, and it could have been easily. And obviously this is not a satisfying resolution, because in Archie Sonic, she would have had bombs in her new cybernetics, so it wouldn't have been as simple to save her. But I'm sure Nicole, the magic Deus Ex Machina, could just inject nanites into her that would remove the bombs. Actually, you wouldn't even need Nicole for that. I guess Nicole would just make the nanites. Bunny takes off her helmet and Tails hugs her, and she ungratefully snarks that Sonic wasn't good at rescuing her because she got locked in a room and was surrounded, showing no faith in his ability to beat the grunts effortlessly with his super speed. Great first impression there, Reboot Bunny. You're both teasing Sonic and an idiot. Usually Bunny's appeal personality-wise is that she's the nice girl. Bunny explains that the big grunt near her was getting suspicious, so she had to go deeper undercover. Why couldn't Tails or Rotor have made a portal gun? That would get Bunny back home just fine, and it would be a lot faster paced instead of spending an entire story on this. She should be complaining about it to Tails, not to Sonic. Like, Tails could have made a big honking ray gun that would completely destroy... Well, I guess you wouldn't know if Bunny would be in the way of the blast. The blast would be too risky because it could kill her. Because you wouldn't know that she was behind any walls, but still. He could just make a ray gun that would keep blasting apart any walls they went to, over and over again, and then they'd easily find Bunny. So, she should have been yelling at Tails, if anything, not Sonic. Because Tails and Rotor, they gotta step it up as engineers. This was true with SAT-AM too. Bunny explains that the big grunt near her was getting suspicious, so she had to go deeper undercover. All outgoing transmissions were closely monitored, which was smart of Eggman. And while she knew she was late checking in with her friends, she was close to getting what she came here for. And she doesn't explain what that is right away, instead takes off her uniform, which she hated. Could this be applied to Hershey too? It's not like she had to have been killed off. Archie, Sonic Online could easily use this as an excuse to say that Hershey was alive all along. She just had to go deeper undercover. Because all outgoing transmissions were closely monitored, so of course she'd have no way of calling her friends. It turns out Bunny was looking into a shield generator for the Sky Patrol. Now Bunny says that the Egg Army is developing a replacement for the Death Egg, and this base is primarily for research and development. Why did the writer have to have the E and R-E-D look so stupid? Also, Egg Army is a really stupid name. You might be used to it because it's Sonic, but realistically, he'd never call it that. Like, even the fact that it's called Eggman is stupid to begin with, and it's just there to confirm to the Japanese. Like, I can understand Sonic using it as an insult, but Robotnik makes more sense. It's literally a last name in real life. So, wouldn't it just be the Robotnik Army? Wouldn't that just sound a lot better? It's a minor complaint, but it still is a bit confused in tone. Because if you're taking this literally, it's a literal army of eggs. Or a bunch of people whose only job is to bring Eggman literal eggs. Sonic fortunately says he feels even worse for running over the grunts, saying, "Your poor boss, because they're geeks first and soldiers second." And Bunny reassures him that he shouldn't feel so bad because they're trying to shoot him. I really wish we had this kind of moment with the Legionnaires instead of Sonic just snarking that they were a joke and beating them up no problem like a thug, which is exactly the same thing Scourge would do. And I can imagine that he would be lectured for not showing a compassionate attitude like this, but Sonic gets away with it no problem. This directly reminded me of the other M comic where Sonic called out Bean on targeting civilians. Bunny says that they just finished the generator today and she was working on a way to nab it before it gets shipped off. Nab it? So the generator is small enough for her to nab. Well, she does have super strength, never mind. But if it's really big, I mean, she'd be pretty conspicuous and out in the open, carrying the generator over her head. Like, she couldn't exactly hide it in her clothes. I guess she would have to sneak out at midnight, when no one's looking at her. But you think she would be caught on security cameras? If the transmissions are closely monitored, you'd think they'd all be monitored with security cameras too. And thus, people would be seeing Bunny talking to Sonic. If Eggman was really that smart, Bunny would have been caught by now. And now that Sonic's here, everything's gonna be locked down tight. I hate that she has a glove over her cybernetic hand. What's the point of her trying to hide it when she obviously has a robot arm anyways? Well, it makes sense in universe because she's ashamed of it for absolutely no reason at all. It's not necessary. But it does make sense that Antoine would prefer to hold her hand if it has a glove over it. Because it'd be more alienating to hold hands with a robot hand. But if she's, again, gloves are not practical for everything, like typing. It just doesn't mesh well. It's like two completely conflicting art styles. The gritty robot arm and the Mickey Mouse glove. Sonic is told that his usual plan of running fast and hitting hard isn't going to cut it. As if I'm expecting to think Bunny is the smarter plan maker when I think the only plan she made got Sally turned into a mindless robot. And Sonic jokes self-awarely, what if I ran really fast and hit it really hard? And Tails says this is serious, but he does so after laughing with a smile, showing better chemistry with him than I think Archie Sonic ever did. But seriously, why are they turning Bunny into Sally? First she had no fucking faith in Sonic the Hedgehog, and now this. I guess it's worth it to make her a bit more interesting, but it just makes her annoying. If anything, she had pretty good chemistry with him and Archie Sonic. Bunny says that the Egg Army isn't going to wait outside forever, and they'll come up with a plan instead. It should really be Tails saying this. He's the smart one. Again, he's trying to turn her into Sally. Yeah, I guess this is just a one-issue thing. It better be. Because otherwise, how's she unique as a character? Then Sonic remembers that the reason the Reboot Bunny has cybernetics is because in this reality, Chuck saved her life back when Eggman first attacked. As in, this is foreshadowing to the stupid revelation that because he doesn't want it to be like Sad AM, because he doesn't like Sad AM, Bunny's only a half robot because of Chuck making her that way, and not because of Eggman half roboticizing her. There's no reason to change that backstory whatsoever. And as we're going to see, it's not like it's going to make it less dark. Why isn't Bunny reacting to Sonic saying, in this reality, right beside her, just because she's not in the panel? Instead, they go to yet another panel, wasting our time, and she's still not in it. Fortunately, Nicole reasons with them that they should restore Bunny's memories later, after they're out of harm's way. It would just distract Bunny, and they don't need that. Again, why doesn't she hear Nicole? She has huge ears! Then we cut to the Egg Army base in Arctica. Well, at least he's trying to make it sound different from our world. I guess this is the Reboot Antarctica? I guess this is the Reboot Arctic? It's kind of like Arctic and Antarctica mashed together. But, come on. It didn't take any kind of creativity to think of that name. You could have at least named it Arctic in a different language. Eggman asks a regional leader in the tundra if he has his transport to the Death Egg ready, still pretending that he's just testing him by asking him questions that everyone should already know the answer to. I hope he's usually that kind of a wacky boss, and that's why they're not confused. He's told that the autopilot for what looks like mechanical reindeer is set for the Death Egg. I like that the uniforms of the grunts in the tundra are perfectly suited for the winter. But you'd think a walrus wouldn't need any adjusting to the cold and would just be hot in that suit. In fact, in Archie Sonic, you saw a whole herd of walruses in one of the poles, and they never wore suits. I can't even remember them wearing clothes. That made more sense. Eggman flies off with the writing doing more heavy-handed foreshadowing that the memories of Archie Sonic are going to depressingly fade away from the characters as they readjust. I knew this was coming, and if that's gonna happen anyways, it just makes the memories arc worthless if they're gonna forget anyways to stop having references to an unrelated continuity. At that point, it just makes it all more obvious they never should have had those memories. It's good to stop having the references because it's just taunting us. Anyways, the heroes in Metropolis run away from the grunts with Bunny using a force field to block the lasers, and some grunts try to intimidate them when they reach the vault's giant door. Sonic sarcastically says, "Goodness, when you put it that way, I guess we have no choice." And rather than Bunny simply using her super strength to get past the vault's giant door, there's a rumble, and the giant gears of the doors open up by themselves after the heroes were just saying it would be too hard to go through them. And already Tails is at a computer with the grunt behind him knocked out. Tails says he'll open the ceiling access for their escape. Then we see some explosions hit city buildings. City buildings, okay. So it is kind of a city, a little. And Tails says there's another earthquake. An announcement calls the soldiers to the shelters, and they get to the generator shaped like Eggman's head. And it turns out all of a sudden that they're sealed into the room. Then the earthquake opens the way forwards for them, and Sonic holds on to Bunny while she flies above the explosions with them. The heroes all reach the tornado too. So, I guess the earthquake was destroying the generator for them instead of them earning the victory themselves, and that's why they're fine with leaving just now. I really would have preferred if we just saw Bunny smash the generator herself. Although it is more creative for an earthquake to destroy it. But wait, oh, right, the earthquake was the bullshit side effect of not the ultimate annihilator, but the side effect of the stupid Genesis wave bullshit. I forgot because it's so convoluted and nonsensical. It would have actually made more sense if it was just a random earthquake natural disaster. Like how Metropolis briefly fell in Archie Sonic. Sonic says that this is like the quakes in Wood Zone last issue, and they're endangering Eggman's own bases. I guess even Eggman's not overpowered enough to make a device to make earthquakes not happen anymore. They return to the Sky Patrol, where Bunny's relieved that Antoine is here, when she thought he was headed to Spagonia. He says that he escorted Chuck and returned here immediately, so he was going there with Chuck, but again, what if they got kidnapped? And he yawns, saying that he needed to see her again. Bunny snarks that he was almost romantic up until that yawn, and after her memories get restored, and she hugs Antoine crying because of all the shit Flynn put her through, she frustrates me by angsting about her cyborg arm, even though the whole reason she joined the Legion Archie Sonic was to get her cybernetics back. So I thought she would appreciate them by now. Be like, well, that saves me the trouble. Wouldn't she have learned her lesson from those memories? Well, aside from the fact that she's crying because Antoine was in a coma, but she'd also remember that she lost her cybernetics and felt useless, and so she got them back to feel useful again. There's no reason for her to have any cyborg angst after that. Ugh. Nicole makes a slight holographic body of herself that looks like she has blue hair, but at least it's long hair this time. And she says that it might come down to restoring either Sally or Amy. Of course it'll be Sally. She's one of the Sadian freedom fighters, and this is Archie. And Amy has nothing interesting to restore memory-wise. And more importantly, it'll give Flynn an excuse to make a Sadian character really upset and miserable. So, while you might initially think that he's going to prefer the game character, that wouldn't be preferential treatment because the game character would just suffer. Also, I've heard that he really likes Amy. A text blurb tells us that we'll find Amy in Sonic Universe, giving away immediately that of course it won't be Amy who will get her memories restored. Not that it even matters if they'll just fade away. Thank goodness Flynn at least tried to have a plot other than the memory restoring. They destroyed a generator this issue. Also, I think even I could come up with the idea of the heroes go on a mission to destroy one of Eggman's generators. Didn't I say that was kind of a lazy plot in the Sally miniseries too? My first thought would always be Robot Factory. Like, of course they'd be destroying Eggman's robot factories. Meanwhile, Eggman's back on the Death Egg and says that he's had fresh clothes and a good night's sleep, and his Death Egg's about to come back online. I think he deserves to not have any good night's sleep. Orbot gives Eggman the news about the heroes' victories, and he says an escape pod launched hours before they arrived, and security captured an image of the Reboot Sally. And the last panel tries to pretend that Eggman would ever have a chance of roboticizing Sally right after we just got to see her again as a non-robot. Obviously that won't happen, because even Flynn knows that he couldn't get away with roboticizing her again. It's surprising that he realized he couldn't get away with keeping her a robot. Actually, I would have preferred that so that we could see the heroes satisfyingly de-roboticize her, actually earning a major victory for themselves instead of it just being handed to them because of a stupid Genesis wave. This issue is by Ian Flynn, and it's about Sonic finding Bunny undercover in the Egg Army, and she punches out her supposed boss and reunites with him no problem. I think that if this was Archie Sonic, the plot would be the same, right up until the added complication that, oh yeah, the Legionnaires' cybernetics have bombs in them. So Bunny would be blown up the minute she'd be noticed as missing, but her uncle wouldn't do that to her. So I guess Sonic would just rush her home at super speed, and Nicole's nanites would get the bombs out, like disable them at the very least. So it would be just as easy. I like seeing this because it at least tries to paint a picture of how Flynn planned to resolve Bunny's plot thread in Archie Sonic, complete with her nickname being Scarlet. I heard a rumor that he wanted her to turn evil and like stay with Eggman. I'm sure that's just a rumor though, because how would he ever think he could get away with that? Maybe he just said that way after the fact, out of spite. I don't know. He must have been joking, right? And after Bunny's memories are restored, Eggman uses the help of a flying machine from yet another Eggman army he did nothing to earn for himself to get back to the Death Egg. So what's the point of restoring memories if they're just gonna fade away anyways? He just says to make sure Sally doesn't survive. But whatever, she'll be fine. This story was so basic that summarizing it is really simple. Sonic reunites with Bunny and leaves. The end. It's not satisfying because we know that if this was actual Archie Sonic, it would be a little bit more complicated, so the heroes would have to try harder to earn it.